My name is Ms.Shannon and I am from the Walworth-Seeley Public Library, and I am here today to do a tutorial on arts and crafts for children. And we are going to be doing what's called straw weaving, and by the end we are going to have a bracelet like this, and it is made of yarn that we have weaved. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is our bracelet that we're going to make, and the materials that we need some yarn. I have some multicolored yarn with me today. I made this one out of a single colored yarn. If you would like to have multicolored bracelet but you only have a solid color yarn, you can tie on a new color yarn if you would like to. Just know you'll probably have a little bit of a bump where you joined the yarn together. You just make a little knot, but you can put that on the back and you won't even know it's there. So that's an option if you'd like to. Also, we are going to need straws. We're going to be using 3 straws today. I have some plastic ones here, but if you'd like to, if you have a reusable straw that you would like to use, that works just fine. Mine has a little bit of a bend in it, so we have to put some yarn through the straw, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to be using the plastic one today. We also need some tape and some scissors. So the first thing we need to do is grab some tape and our 3 straws and make sure they're all even, and then we are going to tape the ends of our straw together like so. And that will keep them together. Alright, so now we're going to grab some yarn of our choice. And to get started, we want to leave a little bit of a tail, so maybe 6 inches or so. And we're going to place it through the first straw so that our tail is on the other end. And then we are going to take our string, that is our other end of the string, and we're going to under our first straw, over our second straw, and under our third straw, and pull that all the way to the end. And now we're going to go over our first straw, going the other direction, under our second straw, and over our third straw. So now we have the opposite pattern. And again, we'll go under the first straw, going the opposite direction, over the middle, and under the third. Again, going the other direction, over our first straw, under our middle straw, over our third straw, and then push this down. You can see that we're starting to get a little bit of a pattern here of the weaving. So we're going to continue this method all the way down. And something to note, you want to make sure you don't have your string on your straws too tight, because we will need to slide all of this string off of our straws. So the first one I did it a little bit too tight with the tension, and it was hard to get off the straws. So sometimes I just wiggle my straws around a little bit to loosen up the string, and that makes it a little bit easier to get it off when we're all done. Also, sometimes I put my finger under the yarn so it won't slip up, and it makes it a little bit easier. So again, we're going to go under our first straw, over our second, and under our third. And over our first one, under our second, and over our third, and then squish it down to the end. And so we're going to continue this until you get to the length that you want for your bracelet. Or if you want to make it longer and make it into a headband, that would be fun too. So there's lots of different things that you could do with this. And if you want to try this again, you could also add more straws and it would make your band wider. So you can modify this to make different sizes. And if it is hard to hold on to both your straws and your yarn, you could take a piece of tape and you could tape this to your table or whatever surface you're working on, and then you can have both hands to maneuver your yarn. So that's an option too. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep going until I get to the length I would like, and we'll chat again when we get there. So you can see with this colored yarn, we're starting to get different colors throughout the bracelet, which is one of the nice things about using multicolored yarn, because then you don't have to switch your color. It does it all on its own. So again, as a quick refresher, we're going to go over our straw, under the next, and over our third. We're going to go the other direction, go under our straw, over the second, and under the third. Keep going back and forth. And just remember not to weave too tight, because we want to be able to take our yarn off. So I like to wiggle my straws back and forth, and it seems to loosen up the string a little bit, so it's not quite so tight. So that's what I like to do every so often. So we're almost to the end. So if you wanted to make a really, really long one, you could try to tape on another straw at the end and keep going. So you'll go until you get the length that you like. So if you are a child, you will make it a little bit smaller than I do. And I have mine here. So mine, at the moment, this is how long mine is. So this would maybe be a better length for a smaller wrist, of course. So you can adjust it to the size of your wrist, or if you want to make a headband or something. But we're just going to make another bracelet today. So I'm going to keep going until I get to the same length. so close. All right, so I think that's gonna be pretty good. We are now going to cut off our yarn. So you want to leave a little bit of a tail and then go ahead and snip it off. And now we want to make a knot at the end of our weave so that it doesn't come undone. So if you make a loop around the first straw, you want to make it a little bit big so that you can put your end. I'm just going to make a regular knot, pull that tight, and we're going to make one more. Slipped right off on me. There we go. Pull that tight. Okay, so now we need to make 3 strips of yarn that is a little bit longer than our straws. So I would say if you make a little bit of tail, because you want enough string to be able to tie it around your wrist. So as long of an end that you need, you can always cut off a little bit if you don't need it all, but it's good to have a little bit more than you need. So that's good, and then I'm going to make a tail on the other end as well. And cut that off. And so now I have the length that I would like, and I am going to measure 2 more of the same size. So to make it even, you can just measure the length of the one you just cut, and then they'll be the same size. So there's 2. Here's number 3. Okay, so you're going to take your first piece of yarn, and we want to put this through our first straw. So you're going to guide the piece of string all the way until it pokes out the other end. Sometimes they're a little bit stubborn and they don't want to go through, so. Oh, there it is. So now this is poked out the other side, and we're going to do the same thing with the other 2 pieces of yarn. So now I'm going to put this one in the middle straw. And guide this one through. Just do little bits at a time. I find it goes through a little bit easier because you have more control. There's our other one. And our last one. Okay. So here's all 3 of our strings, and so now we just want to make them even on either side. So you can see they're both even. Okay, so Now we have to make a knot at the end of this with all 4 of our strings because we don't want them to all unravel when we take it off. So we're going to gather our 3 strings that we just put through and also our tail end that we just made a knot in. We're going to take all 4 and we're going to tie a knot. Make sure you grab all 4. And then you'll want a little bit of a tail here. So scooch that down and make it real tight. There we go. All right, so now we have a knot at the end of this one. Mine's a little bit lopsided, but that's okay. There we go. And now we are going to take the tape off on the opposite end. So I'm going to take some scissors, or if you can pick it off without, depending on what kind of tape you're using. So I'm just going to make a little slit in that so that I can take this off. Kids, if you need some help with any of this, you can always ask a grown-up or a sibling. There we go. Okay, so now we have our tape off of this end. I'm going to give my straws a little wiggle to loosen up. And now we need to slide all of the string off of our straws. So you can either grab the string from the end and push it off, or you can take out each individual straw. So I'm going to do it by taking out the individual straws. I think it's a little bit easier. So it's a little bit tricky, but oopsie, there it goes. And you're just gonna pull it out. And we wanted to make a knot at this end so that these strings didn't pull out with our straws, because then it would all unravel. So then we're gonna grab our next one, pull that one out. There we go. Then pull out our last one. Scrunches up a little bit on this one. There we go. And now stretch it out a little bit. There's our bracelet. So now we just have to finish this end. So you can see this is our tail from when we first started. We want to make a knot so that it doesn't unravel. So this is one of our strings from where we ended. I'm just going to use one of those 3 strings to make a knot. So I'm going to grab my tail and just make a knot with this one. You don't want to get it too tight because it's going to scrunch up. Just tight enough to make it flush with the end. All right, so I'm going to make one more knot to make it a double knot so it doesn't fall out. And pull that tight. There we go. So now that is secure. And now we want to make a knot with all 4 of our strings like we did on the other side. So now we're going to take all 4. I like to twist them a little bit, it makes it easier. And then pull them all through. You want to try to get it as close to your bracelet as possible. There we go. Pull it real tight. All right, so now you can flatten out your bracelet what I like to do, I like to make a little knot at the end of each of my strings so that they're not all loose. You don't have to do that if you don't like to. So like I tied mine together so that they're not all loose, but that's just a preference of mine. But now your bracelet is all done. Cut my ends so that they're even now at least, and here is our bracelet. Good job, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, and happy straw weaving.